I think that is where the Petronsky live, said Maddie. Now Maddie spoke to Peggy that is the place. I think that is the place where the Petronsky live, Bogin site on the top of the hill. I think that is where the Petronskys live, said Maddie, pointing to a little white house. Finding a little white house on that heighted area, Maddie spoke that is the place. I think that is the place where Petronskys live. The whips of old grass struck. So grass here and there, somewhere a bunch of grass, and there after another place, like that they can see. And there along the pathway like thin kittens. The house and its sparse little yard looked savvy but clean. So that house, that white house, and they reached to Peggy and Maddie. They found that the house was a little savvy, not clear, darkish look, but clean. But that house was clean. The wall was little savvy, not lighted, but the house was quite clean. It reminded Maddie of Wenda's one dress, and that house reminded Maddie of Wenda's dress, her faded blue cotton dress. How it was? The faded blue cotton dress looked faded, not ironed properly, but cleaned one. So her faded blue cotton dress, savvy but clean. There was not a sign of life about the house, and there they found nobody. There was no life in the house. So there was not a sign of life about the house. Peggy knocked firmly with force. So with force, Peggy knocked on the door. But there was no answer because there was nobody. Nobody responded to her knock. She and Maddie went around to the backyard and knocked there. And there they went towards the backyard of the house, and there also they knocked. Still there was no answer. There was no doubt about it. The Petronsky were gone. So they were sure that the Petronsky had left the house. How could they ever make amends? Amends means replies. Then how they would make reply to the letter, to the note of Wenda's father? They turned slowly and made their way back down the hill, and now they really disappointed, especially Maddie. Also Peggy, what they wanted to tell to Wenda, that she has won the contest, drawing contest, and this time nobody could make fun of her, and if anybody try to make any kind of fun with her, then it is Maddie and Peggy going to fight for her. So when they reached to the house, they found nobody, and now they became disappointed, returning back to their house. Well, anyway, said Peggy, she has gone now, so what can we do? So Peggy started speaking that anyway she has left the house. Besides, when I was asking her about all her dresses, she probably was getting good ideas for her drawings. So Peggy is telling that now she has left the house, now they cannot do anything, and she thought of the drawing competition and told that it was all because of her. Probably when she asked about Wenda's dress, Wenda got new ideas to make the drawing. She might not even have won the contest otherwise. So otherwise she couldn't have won the contest. It was all because of her teasing, all because of her asking about the dresses. She got the idea and she won the contest. Peggy is telling to Maddie. Maddie turned this idea carefully over in her head. So Maddie also listened to Peggy, whatever Peggy was telling. Maddie turned this idea carefully over in her head, for if there were anything in it, she would not have to feel so badly. So, okay, so this time if they talk about the idea of making the dresses, the paintings, so at least they have done something for Wenda, or else all the time, all the way they torture Wenda Petronsky, but somehow by asking the dresses, they helped Wenda to think about the designs. But that night she could not get to sleep. But that night when they returned to home, Maddie couldn't sleep. She was really emotional. She was disappointed. She thought about Wenda and her faded blue dress. All the way when she was trying to sleep, she could view Wenda and her faded dress and the little house she had lived in, and that view came into her mind and where she was living. And she thought of the glowing picture those 100 dresses made, and she even viewed, while she was sleeping, she viewed the view of the 100 dresses drawn by Wenda. So how the designs all lined up in the classroom. So all the paintings, all the drawings were lined up in the classroom, and because of the drawings, the classroom was looking beautiful. At last, Maddie sat up in bed because she couldn't sleep. She sat up in bed and pressed her forehead tight, and she pressed her forehead tight because she was getting headache. So pressed her forehead tight in her hands and really thought, and she thought about Wenda only. This was the hardest thinking she had ever done, and this was a very difficult time for her. She had never experienced such kind of hardest time in her life. After a long time, she reached an important conclusion, but at the end she came to a very important conclusion. She was never going to stand by and say nothing again. So she made the decision. She decided that now she is not going to stand by and say nothing again. She would not stand beside anybody who would be criticizing or teasing Wenda. So she came to the conclusion. She decided that if she ever heard anybody picking on someone because they were funny looking or because they had strange names, she would speak up. So if she found somebody criticizing other for whatever the cause, then she would speak up. She would not just stop. She would not stand quietly. She would speak next time. Even if it meant losing Peggy's friendship, even if she speaks, then she has to lose the friendship of Peggy then also she is not going to care. She had no way of making things right with Wenda, and now when Wenda and her family members left the town, she had no way to make it right. But from now on, she would never make anybody else that unhappy again. But she would try not to make anybody unhappy again. That she decided. Mary decided. On Saturday, Mary spent the afternoon with Peggy. So that Saturday afternoon, Mary spent the time with Peggy. They were writing a letter to Wenda Petronsky. They could do nothing for Wenda Petronsky because before they reached to Boginside, they left the town. So they have decided to write a letter to Wenda Petronsky. It was just a friendly letter telling about the contest and telling Wenda she had won. So it was a friendly letter. Not the sorry letter, but not the apology letter, but a friendly letter to Wenda telling that she had won the drawing competition. They told her how pretty her drawings were. In the letter, they narrated about the drawing competition, and even they told her how pretty, how beautiful the drawings were. And they asked her if she liked where she was living and if she liked her new teacher. And even in the letter, they asked wherever she is living now, that she is happy there or not, and even she got the good teacher or not, her new teacher liked her or not. They had meant to say they were sorry. So in the manner they wanted to say sorry, but it ended up with their just writing a friendly letter. They wanted to tell sorry to Wenda, but at the end it turned out to be a friendly letter to Wenda, the kind they would have written to any good friend. So it was just a friendly letter to any friend they would have written, the kind they would have written to any good friend, and they signed it with lots of X for love. And there, where they were writing the letter, there they have signed with lot of love symbol. They mailed the letter to Boggins Heights, and that letter they mailed it to Boggins Heights, writing please forward on the envelope. And on the envelope it was mentioned that please forward to wherever she is living now. Days passed and there was no answer, but the letter didn't come back. So they sent the letter to Boggins Heights, and on the envelope they mentioned that please forward. That means if she is not there in Boggins Heights, then wherever she is, please forward to that particular place. They waited for long. They didn't get any reply. They didn't get any letter from Wenda Petronsky. But the other end, the letter, whatever they were written, also didn't written back. So they understood that it was forwarded to Wenda Petronsky. Days passed and there was no answer, but the letter didn't come back. So maybe Wenda had received it. So in that manner, they thought that maybe Wenda had received the letter. Perhaps she was so hurt and angry she was not going to answer. So probably she was really disappointed. She might be disappointed. She might be angry on them, and that is the reason she might be not replying. Wenda and Peggy thought like that. You could not blame her. So, and they should not blame her for not replying the letter. Weeks went by and still Wenda did not answer. So it was not days but weeks passed. But Wenda didn't reply the letter. Peggy had begun to forget the whole business, and gradually Peggy started forgetting all the matter. And Mary put herself to sleep at night making speeches about Wenda. And Mary now used to sleep at night making speeches about Wenda. She makes speeches about Wenda, defending her from great crowds of girls who were trying to teach her with. So in her sleep she used to give speech on Wenda, and sometimes if others are making fun of Wenda, it is Mary who is coming forward and fighting for Wenda. That is what she used to dream in her sleep. Many dresses. How many dresses have you got? And before Wenda could press her lips together in a tight line, the way she did before answering, Mary would cry out, "Stop!" So whenever anybody making fun of Wenda, asking about her dress, it was Mary comes forward and spoke "Stop" with angry voice. She speaks "Stop." Then anybody would feel ashamed the way she used to feel, and then everybody would ashamed when Mary would shout at them. And that is what Mary is dreaming in her sleep these days. Now it was Christmas time, and there was snow on the ground. Now this is December, the last week of December, Christmas time, and there was snow on the ground. Christmas bell and a small tree decorated the classroom. So the classroom also decorated with small tree and lot of bells. On the last day of the school before the holiday, before the Christmas holidays, it was the last day, the teacher showed the class a letter she had received that morning. So the teacher, Miss Mason, came forward and showed them a letter they got. "You remember Wenda Petronsky?" The teacher spoke to the children, the students, that, "Do you remember Wenda Petronsky, the gifted little artist who won the drawing contest?" So, dear children, do you still remember Wenda Petronsky, who had drawn 100 designs of dresses? "Well, she has written me a letter, and I am glad to know where she lives." So Miss Mason spoke that she was glad to know where Wenda Petronsky lives these days, because now I can send her medal. Because I got the address, now I can send her medal. "I want to read her letter to you, and same time now I want to read the letter to you children," spoke Miss Mason. The class sat up with a sudden interest and listened intently. Intently means with intention. So with intention, everybody paid attention to listen to the letter. And there Miss Mason read for the children. And in the letter it was written, "Dear Miss Mason, how are you in room 13? So there it was written, "How are you, Miss Mason?" and how the children of room number 13. "Please tell the girls they can keep those 100 dresses." And now please tell to the girls of the classroom to keep that dresses with them, because in my new house I have 100 new ones, because I have 100 new designs, new dresses I have. So those 100 should be kept by the girls of room number 13. So because in my new house I have 100 new ones, all lined up in my closet. So, and all the 100 dresses lined up in her closet. I would like that girl Peggy to have the drawing of the green dress with the red trimming. So I would like to gift it to Peggy. Which one? The green dress with red trimmings. That dresses should be handed over to Peggy. And her friend Maddie to have the blue one. And Maddie should have the blue one. For Christmas, I miss that school. In that Christmas time, I miss the school. Wenda writes. For Christmas, I miss that school, and my new teacher doesn't equalize with you. And my new teacher doesn't equalize with you. She spoke to Miss Mason that Miss Mason, you were really nice, and my new teacher doesn't equalize you, not to your level. Merry Christmas to you and everyone. Merry Christmas to you, Miss Mason, and the students of room number 13. That is what Wenda had written in the letter. And at the end, it was written, yours truly, Wenda Petronsky.